community, sister girl AyChristene, and today we're checking out an Odd1sOut animation called My Poetry Teacher. I am really excited to see what his poetry teacher was like because poetry is something that is really dear to me. I used to write poetry from like high school all the way to like, I don't know, maybe 24, 25 years old, and I was writing a lot like of my feelings, things I was going through. A lot of fun ideas and memories come to mind for me. So I want to know what his poetry teacher was like. Link for this video is in the description box below for you to check out. Now let's get started. Also, let me know, did you write poetry or do you write poetry? Let me know.
I'll take school facts for 800, Alex.
Okay.
This is the most useless class that a person could take in
school.
No. Oh man.
What is pre-calc?
What is poetry?
No.
I'm sorry, Jeff, but the correct answer is all of them. They're all useless.
You know what's funny? The reason that is funny to me is because there's a truth to that. When you go to college, right? Let's say you're going to be a math teacher. No, not a math teacher. We'll take that out. But let's say you're going to be a doctor, right? They have all these, or any major you're going to take, they have these prereqs that you don't necessarily need. If I'm going to be a math teacher, right? I don't need to take algebra again. I took it in high school. I took geometry, and then you have to take a third math. Well, you did back when I was in high school. You had to take a third math. So it's like going to college to take another math class when I'm going to be a Spanish teacher does not compute, because the only time I'm going to use math in my math class is to teach them how to say numbers. I also don't need to know algebra for that, because if I'm counting, like let's say I have a bunch of candies and I'm counting out the class, it's not algebra, it's just regular basic 1, 2, 3, 4s. You know, I don't need x equals a plus b in the parentheses, the Pythagorean theorem, whatever it is. My Aunt Sally, right? What is it? My Aunt Sally. Y'all know the rest of that. If y'all know, put it down below what I'm trying to say, because then we're here, right? But yeah, I do feel like there are a lot of classes that you take in college that you don't need to take. But did he say high school? Because then there's still classes in there that you don't need to take either. Man, but I do miss school, man. I truly miss school.
In my first video, I didn't have enough time to say this, but I hate it when people are cool with their teachers. I understand that some teachers are more laid back than others, and sometimes they'll ask the class, so how was everyone's weekend? Then if you want to talk about something or have important news, then you can share it. My dog died.
Oh dear.
Yeah, they do that. But there's a line and you shouldn't cross it. Don't talk to your teacher just to talk to them during class. I don't know how much of a problem this is in other places of the world, but sometimes there would be kids in my class that would say, "Hey Susan, how was your daughter's dance recital? Did you remember all of her moves? I saw the video you posted on Facebook. It looked like she was having a fun time."
Oh,
Stop
okay.
it!
Wait.
Stop it! Maybe I would.
He was so upset. Okay, I was cool with my teacher, but I didn't talk with her about stuff during class. Mostly it was, well, I'm not going to lie, because we went to a concert and I was talking to her about the concert during class. But to be fair, my whole class went to most of my class went to that concert. My AP Spanish teacher was freaking boss, and she inspired me to be a Spanish teacher, okay? She was the coolest teacher ever. Super cool, super chilled, and I loved her. Señora Moore. If she's still teaching in South Florida, everybody be nice to Senora Moore. Okay.
Wouldn't have been a good teacher. Before I tell you about my poetry teacher, I need to tell you about the preparatory school I went to so you can better understand where I'm coming from.
All right.
So I went to a preparatory school in 9th grade, and first off, what is a preparatory school?
Yes,
Google says it's a private school that prepares students for college. Now, hearing that definition, you might think, wait, don't all schools prepare students for college?
Thank you. Yes.
Isn't that a school's job? And you might think that a preparatory school is more fancy and made out of marble and all the kids come from rich families. No. What it means is that the schools get little government funding and parents have to pay for desks and the teacher's salary. I know different private schools will vary depending on how rich the parents are. I'm sure that school made out of marble exists somewhere, but the preparatory school I went to was relatively worse than a normal public school. The school I went to didn't even have desks. They had fold-up tables and the chairs were fold-up too. How did they...
Okay. Yeah.
Well, now I know where all the budget went.
Yeah.
The main difference between a public school and a prep school is that a prep school is smaller and there's a uniform and there's lockers. So why did my twin sister and I attend a preparatory school? Because twins have superpowers and we need to go to a special school to enhance our abilities. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That'd be cool though. We went because when we were starting our freshman year, our older brother was a senior and he was already attending this preparatory school. And my mom didn't want to have to drive to 2 high schools to pick us up. We already had a carpool in place. You can't just mess with the carpool. And me and my sister didn't know what to expect from a public high school. We've never been. We thought we'd get bullied or something. Boy, I feel like picking on someone today.
Oh, the way they ran
sure,
away.
we can go to a prep school. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? Well, the carpool we had made it so we would arrive at the school super early before everyone else, and we'd be picked up from the school super late. And also, because it was a prep school, they gave out a stupid amount of homework. I remember breaking up the homework into pieces, like, okay, I can do the geometry while I'm waiting for school to start, the biology homework I can do during geometry class, and I have choir after lunch, so I can just do this during lunch. Look at me being responsible. I have a little sister who just finished her freshman year in a public high school, and she thinks it was so hard. Oh, you thought your 9th grade was hard? Try doing twice the amount of homework and wear the same pants every day. So now the only question remaining is, why did my older brother go to a prep school in the first place? Bro, why did you go to a prep school in the first place? IDK just decided to. Just felt like I should. My mom reads my scripts, and she told me that he went to a prep school because one of his friends said that there were cute girls at the school, so he decided to stay there for 4 years. Okay, now let's talk about my poetry teacher. I'll call him Mr. Poe, because that's short for poetry. Poetry wasn't even an elective class. Every freshman was required to take it. And surprisingly, poetry was only the 2nd most useless class you took at the school.
Oh, gosh.
The sophomores took a class on Latin. You know, that dead language that no one speaks.
Oh,
so
Batman!
Mr. Poe, I don't want to judge him too hard. I don't know how he was like outside of school, but just picking up the vibes I got from him.
What was that game? Yeah, I used to, like, you have the spin top, you pull it and then it just goes, what is it? I forgot the name of that. Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know down below.
I think it was Depressed. I mean, to be fair, anyone who likes poetry probably has something wrong in their head. But Mr. Poe just seemed sad all the time. Every single day he would start the class by saying, "It's the best day ever." Which, if you think about it, saying that every day only means that the days are going to get better and better, which is sort of poetic. But I think Mr. Poe was lying to himself. Also, Mr. Poe really liked anacondas. I mean, snakes. He really liked snakes. Sometimes he would go off on tangents talking about snakes. Royal pythons, also called American ball python, got their name because they turn into a ball when they get nervous. Also, did you know that snakes have 2... Never mind. Sometimes the class would be analyzing poetry, and Mr. Poe told us that every single word in a poem was important. The poet didn't have to use the word "the," but they did. What did they mean? Sometimes we would spend days analyzing a single poem, taking notes and talking about what we thought the poet meant. One time a poem we were reading had someone talking, so there were quotation marks at the start of the sentence, but there weren't quotation marks at the end. The poet forgot to put end quotes. I remember noticing it and thinking, aha, a clue! Mr. Poe, I just made a breaking discovery. There's no end quotes here, meaning that the whole rest of this poem is told by this character. And Mr. Poe said, oh no, that's just a typo. Well, freaking, why am I perfectly nitpicking this piece when the poet purposely put poor punctuation in his poems?
That's a lot of piece.
This is going to sound off topic. Do you guys know what lateral thinking puzzles are? Lateral thinking puzzles are sort of like riddles, but more stupid. You're given a strange situation with little information, and you have to ask the person who told you the puzzle yes or no questions to get the answer. My favorite lateral thinking puzzle is this because it's so stupid. A man goes into a restaurant, orders albatross, eats one bite, and then jumps off a bridge. Why? Now, normally, if we were playing legitly, you would ask me yes or no questions like, was the man in a relationship? And I would answer them saying, well, not anymore. The explanation is this. I'm not going to read it out because it's super long and complicated, but you can read it if you want. Well, Mr. Poe also liked to tell these lateral thinking puzzles, but his solutions were more dumber. One of the puzzles he told the class was, you're trapped in a restaurant, how do you get out? Now, I can think of like 5 solutions right off the top of my head. Okay, through the door, through a window, use a crowbar if it's locked. There's probably a sharp knife to cut through a wall, or you can dig a hole under everything with a spoon. But it was actually none of those answers. So, how do you get out of a restaurant you're trapped in? You get an education. Okay, let me explain. You're trapped in a restaurant because you're a waiter. That's your job. And to get out of the restaurant, you need to get a good education so you can get a better job. Kind of like how I was able to quit my job in the food industry by getting an education.
Degree.
It's funny because he dropped out of college. So the class got the answer to that riddle, but Mr. Poe told us another riddle, and we never figured that one out. And that riddle is, anyone can dig a ditch, but it takes a real man to blank. Given that the answer to the first riddle was education, the answer to this could be anything. I really wanted to know the answer to this riddle, so I Googled it, hoping that Mr. Poe just stole it from the internet, and I found this song, anyone can dig a hole close enough to a ditch, but it takes a real man to call it home, which sounds poetic enough. Let's see if the song gives us any more clues. So I wish I could give you the answer, but I don't have one. Feel free to guess what you think the answer is and give your reasoning in the comments. That'll be fun to read. But I will say the answer that I did come up with that I think makes the most sense. Anyone can dig a ditch, but it takes a real man to hide the body. Poetry was dumb.
Oh, he's messed up. He is messed up. It takes a real man to hide the body. Actually, it takes a real man to... No, I won't even say real man. It takes a real person to not get caught. Which, mind you, side note, I know, like, I have made comments about, you know, don't get caught, don't get caught. I remember in, I think it was in... Yeah, the video where I'm like, the things that will make you say nope. I read a comment that was hilarious, basically talking about how they've heard me mention in other videos about, hey, don't get caught. I don't get caught. That's why I haven't gotten arrested. Speaking about me. And they're like, Christene doesn't do anything bad. And then they watched this video where I was talking about lighting people on fire. And they're like, maybe she has killed some people. So you have to check out the video and read the comments. It was pretty funny. It cracked me up. But okay, some of the things he is saying is right. You know, not everybody needs to take poetry, and it shouldn't be a required course, especially if poetry is not your jam. Like, that's not what you're going for. You're not going to be a poetry teacher, or you're not interested in poetry. So forcing people to take a poetry class, I got you, right? Like, you know, that's not necessary. I don't think poetry is a dumb class, though. I'm like, I wish that I could have taken a poetry class. The most that I got close to poetry-wise in school was like, you know, as a section or a project in English class. But we didn't have a poetry class at my school, and I wish we did. And I do think the teacher was depressed, especially if he's saying today's the best day ever. If he didn't have that pumped up energy, and then he's not one of those guys that lives every day like it's his last day. Because I've known one of those guys. I worked on a movie set with a guy who was like, they just called him Mr. Smiles, because every time you saw him, he was the happiest guy in the world. And I remember he had said that he used to be super depressed, and then something clicked for him, and he's like, you know what, I will not be depressed anymore, I'm gonna be happy. And he lives every day like it's his last. He's super nice, super humble, super pumped up with energy, super like, yeah, you know, that's who he was. I don't think this guy's teacher was like that. Not this guy, but I don't think James's teacher was like that. I do think his teacher was depressed. And I do think that you have to go to some depths for some poetry. You gotta have some hurt or some pain to like really bring out some good poetry, and I can tell you that from experience. So some of the stuff he was saying was right, even though I'm like, man, oh man. Man, oh man. But yeah, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. What did you think of the video? What do you think of poetry? If you like the video, check out the link in the description box below to support James. If you like this video, hug the life out of that like button. I love you guys as always, and until next time, buddies. Toodles.